Hello students, how are you all? This is Anup sir, your English teacher. Students, in the last video, we had started our new lesson, that is, In the Kingdom of Fools, which is a folk tale written by A.K. Ramanujan. Now, in this video, we will continue the same lesson and finish it. So, let's begin with the lesson.
She thought for a minute and said, My lord, wait. I know now why I was walking up and down that street. I had given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for me. He was a lazy scoundrel. He made so many excuses, said he would give it now and he would give it then, and so on all day. He made me walk up and down to his house a dozen times. Students, goldsmith is a person who makes ornaments out of gold, and the word scoundrel means a dishonest person. So, students, the dancing girl transferred the blame onto another person. She said that she was roaming round in this lane again and again because she had to visit the goldsmith's shop. She had given some gold to him to make jewelry out of it. He was a dishonest person. He was making excuses for not making her ornaments in time. He kept on asking her to come after some time. Due to this, she had to go to his house at least a dozen times. So, the dancing girl said that it was the fault of the goldsmith. That was when this bricklayer saw me. It's not my fault, my lord. It's the damn goldsmith's fault. So, students, further, this dancing girl says that when the bricklayer saw her and got distracted, it was the fault of the goldsmith because of whom she was roaming in the lane again and again.
Poor thing, she is absolutely right, thought the king, weighing the evidence. We have got the real culprit at last. Get the goldsmith, wherever he is hiding, at once. Now, the king says that the poor dancing girl was totally right. He thought a lot and finally said that now they knew who the real culprit was, who the real criminal was. He ordered his soldiers to bring the goldsmith. The king's bailiffs searched for the goldsmith, who was hiding in the corner of his shop. When he heard the accusation against him, he had his own story to tell. Students, the word bailiffs means a law officer who makes sure that the decision of the court are obeyed. The word accusation means to blame someone. So, students, the soldiers in the king's court went in search for the goldsmith and brought him to the court. The goldsmith was hiding inside the shop and he feared being arrested. When he was brought in the court of the king, he told his side of the story. My lord, he said, I'm a poor goldsmith. It's true, I made this dancer come many times to my door. I gave her excuse because I couldn't finish making her jewelry before I finished the rich merchant's orders. They had a wedding coming and they wouldn't wait. You know how impatient rich men are. So, students, he said that the dancing girl was right. He made many excuses and made her visit her shop again and again. But it was not her fault. He had an order from a rich merchant and they had a wedding at their place and were in a hurry to get their orders, and that is why the dancing girl's work was getting delayed. Who is this rich merchant who kept you from finishing this poor woman's jewelry, made her walk up and down, which distracted this bricklayer, which made a mess of his wall, which has now fallen on an innocent man and killed him? Can you name him? So, students, the king asked the goldsmith the name of the rich merchant, due to whom the jewelry wasn't finished, and due to which this dancing girl walked up and down on that street and at last killed the burglar while robbing the house. The goldsmith named the merchant, and he was none other than the original owner of the house, whose wall had fallen. Now, justice had come full circle through the king back to the merchant. When he was rudely summoned back to the court, he arrived crying, "It wasn't me, but my father who ordered the jewelry. He's dead. I'm innocent." So, students, the goldsmith said that the rich merchant was the same merchant whose house wall had fallen down. Justice had come full circle means that the story ended at the same point from where it had started. The thief died under the wall of the same merchant whose jewelry this goldsmith was making. Once again, the merchant was called rudely to the court. He was crying and he knew that the king was foolish and he would give him death sentence. He said that it was not he who had ordered the jewelry, but it was his father. His father was dead and it was none of his fault. But the king consulted his minister and ruled decisively, "It's true, your father is the true murderer. He is dead, but someone must be punished in his place. You have inherited everything from that criminal father of yours, his riches as well as his sins. I knew at once, even when I first set eyes on you, that you were at the root of this horrible crime. You must die." So, students, the king consulted his minister and gave the decision that the merchant's father was the murderer. The thief died because of him, as the merchant's father was not alive and someone had to be punished for the crime. So he said that the merchant's son, who had inherited everything from his father, would have to take the punishment for his wrongdoing as well. He added that when he had seen the merchant for the first time, at that moment he had a feeling that he was the culprit. The king announced that now the merchant would have to die, and he ordered a new stake to be made ready for the execution. As the servants sharpened the stake and got it ready for the final impaling of the crime, it occurred to the minister that the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on the stake. He appealed to the king's common sense. The king, too worried about it. Students, here the word stake means a post with a sharp pointed end used to pierce through something. The word execution means an official killing of someone. The word impaling means to push a sharp pointed post through something. So, students, when this tool was getting ready for execution, the minister somehow felt that the merchant was very thin and could not be executed through this tool. So, he went to the king and told him about it. After hearing about this issue, the king was worried that how will this merchant be executed now? "What shall we do?" he said, when suddenly it struck him that all they needed to do was to find a man fat enough to fit the stake. So, students, the king got an idea that they should catch hold of a man who was fat enough to be executed with this stake, that is, the tool for execution. The minister would not be put to death because he was too thin to be executed with this tool. They thought of punishing another person instead of this merchant, one who was fat enough to be executed with this stake. The servants were immediately sent all over the town looking for a man who would fit the stake, and their eyes fell on the disciple who had fattened himself for months on bananas and rice and wheat and ghee. So, students, finally, the king sent his servants around his kingdom to look for a man who was fat enough to be executed with that tool. They found the Guru's disciple who had become very fat, eating several things like bananas, rice, wheat, and ghee. What have I done wrong? I am innocent. I am a sannyasi, he cried. That may be true, but it's the royal decree that we should find a man fat enough to fit the stake, they said, and carried him to the place of execution. Students, here the word decree means order. So, students, the disciple said that he was a sannyasi. He had not done anything wrong. He was innocent. Then, why were they taking him? The king's servants said that he was innocent, but they were ordered to catch hold of a fat man who could be executed with the stake, that is, the tool of the execution. And he was fit for it, and that is why they were taking him to the place for the execution. He remembered his wise guru's words. This is a city of fools. You don't know what they will do next. So, students, the disciple is remembered of his guru. Guruji, who was a wise man, had told him that it was a city of fools and they could harm him. Now, they were taking him along for the execution. While he was waiting for death, he prayed to his guru in his heart, asking him to hear his cry wherever he was. The guru saw everything in a vision. He had magic powers. He could see far and he could see the future as he could see the present and the past. So, students, the helpless disciple prayed to his guru and asked him to come to his rescue. The guru could visualize the disciple's message due to his magical power. He could see everything. He could see the future, the present, and the past. He could see everything in the vision. He arrived at once to save his disciple, who had got himself into such a scrape through love of food. Students, the word scrape means a difficult situation that one has got into. So, students, the guru arrived there to save his disciple. The disciple was trapped in a difficult and serious situation. They were about to execute him, although he had not done anything wrong. So, the guru came to rescue him from the situation in which he had got himself into due to the love of food. As soon as he arrived, he scolded the disciple and told him something in a whisper. So, students, as the guru met his disciple, he scolded him because he did not obey him and stayed back. He whispered something in his ears. Then he went to the king and addressed him, O wisest of kings, who is greater, the guru or the disciple? Of course, the guru, no doubt about it. Why do you ask? Then put me to the stake first. Put my disciple to death after me. So, students, the guru tried to trap the king in his words. He asked him who was greater between a guru and a disciple. The king replied that, of course, the guru was greater. The guru said that for this reason the king must execute him before his disciple. When the disciple heard this, he understood and began to clamor. Me first, you brought me here first. Put me to death first, not him. Students, here the word clamor means to insist on something. So, students, when disciple heard his guru's words, he started shouting that he wanted to die first, so they should execute him first. The guru and the disciple now got into a fight about who should go first. The king was puzzled by this behavior. He asked the Guru, "Why do you want to die?" "We chose him because we needed a fat man for the stake." So, students, when the Guru and disciple started arguing that who would die first, the king got confused. He asked the Guru that why did he want to die? They had caught the disciple because they wanted a fat man for the execution. "You shouldn't ask me such question. Put me to death first," replied the Guru. So, students, the Guru refused to reply. He said that he wanted to die before his disciple, so he should be executed first. Why? There's some mystery here. As a wise man, you must make me understand. So, students, the king felt that there was a mystery behind it. The Guru wanted to die before his disciple and was so eager to die. There must be some reason behind it. "Will you promise to put me to death if I tell you?" asked the Guru. So, students, the Guru asked the king to promise him that he would execute him first if he told him the secret about why he wanted to be executed first. The king gave him his solemn word. The Guru took him aside out of the servant's earshot and whispered to him, "Do you know why we want to die right now? The two of us, we have been all over the world, but we have never found a city like this or a king like you. The stake is the stake of the God of justice. It's new, it has never had a criminal on it." So, students, the king promised that he would execute him first. Then the Guru took the king aside and slowly told him that they had roamed around the whole world but had never seen a city and a king like him. He added that the stake was the stake of the God and was new one, and no criminal was executed through this stake. So, this is a stake of God, and he should be executed with this stick first. Whoever dies on it first will be reborn as the king of this country. So, students, further, he said that the one who would die first on this stake would be reborn as the king of this kingdom. By telling all this, he is trying to trap the king. And whoever goes next will be the future minister of this country. We are sick of our ascetic life. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves as king and minister for a while. Now keep your word, my lord, and put us to death. Me first, remember? Student, ascetic life is the life of a sannyasi. A strict life, life of discipline. So, students, the one who would die next would be reborn as the minister of the kingdom. The Guru added that he was tired of the life of sannyasi. He and his disciple wanted to live the life of a king and a minister once. So, he says that the king should execute him first so that he is reborn as a king, and after him, his disciple be executed so that he is reborn as a minister. The king was now thrown into deep thought. He didn't want to lose the kingdom to someone else in the next round of life. He needed time. So he ordered the execution postponed to the next day and talked in secret with his minister. Students, here the word postpone means to put off something for a later time. So, students, after listening to the Guru, the king was in deep thoughts. He was puzzled. He did not want that in the next life his kingdom be snatched away from him. He discussed this with his minister. It's not right for us to give over the kingdom to others in the next life. Let's go on the stake ourselves and we'll be reborn as king and minister again. Holy men do not tell lies, he said, and the minister agreed. So, students, the king told his ministers that he did not want that in the next life his kingdom be taken away. He added that the person who is a holy man and a holy man did not speak lies. He says that they should die first so that they are reborn as king and ministers of the kingdom. So he told the executioners, we'll send the criminals tonight. When the first man comes to you, put him to death first. Then do the same to the second man. Those are my orders. Don't make any mistake. So, students, the king told his executioners that he would send the criminals at night. Firstly, they should execute the person who came first and then execute the second person. They should be careful and should not make any mistake. That night, the king and his minister went secretly to the prison, released the guru and the disciple, disguised themselves as the two, and as arranged beforehand with royal servants, were taken to the stake and promptly executed. Students, the word disguised means a different appearance in order to hide one's identity. So, students, at night, the king and his minister went to the prison, where the guru and his disciple were kept. They wore the clothes of the guru and his disciple, so that they resembled them. As it was told to the servants, they came and took them along and put them into the stake for execution. In this way, with his intelligence, the guru was able to execute his foolish king and his foolish minister. When the bodies were taken down to be thrown to crows and vultures, the people panicked. Students, the word panic means frightened. So, students, when the dead bodies of the king and his minister were taken away to be thrown, the people trembled to see the dead bodies of their king and his minister. They saw before them the dead bodies of the king and the minister. The city was in confusion. All night they mourned and discussed the future of the kingdom. Some people suddenly thought of the guru and the disciple and caught up with them as they were preparing to leave town unnoticed. So, students, everyone in the kingdom was mourning the death of the king and his minister. In the morning, some people thought of the guru and his disciple and felt that they should go to them. As the guru and his disciple were planning to leave the kingdom, the people stopped them. We people need a king and a minister, said someone. Others agreed. They begged the guru and the disciple to be their king and the minister. So, students, the people of the kingdom thought that they needed a king and a minister, and so they requested the guru and his disciple to be the new king and the minister of the kingdom. It didn't take many arguments to persuade the disciple, but it took longer to persuade the guru. Students, here the word persuade means convince. So, students, the disciple agreed quickly, but it took some time to make the guru agree upon this. They finally agreed to rule the kingdom of the foolish king and the silly minister on the condition that they could change all the old laws. From then on, night would again be night and day would again be day, and you could get nothing for a dudu. It became like any other place. So, students, the guru agreed to be the king of the kingdom, but on the condition that from then everyone would work in the day and sleep at night. Also, the cost of the thing would vary and not be one dudu. for anything as was the system earlier. It would be like any other place where everything had different rates. Finally, the Guru converted the kingdom of fools into a normal kingdom. So students, this is all about this video. I'll send you the notes in the next lecture, which you will have to write down in your classwork. Till then, this is Anup sir saying thank you and goodbye.